This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. You can probably look at me and hear it in my voice that it's still morning for me. I had a super early morning yesterday and then super late night last night, which is the reason why I wasn't on the post-game show. But good morning to you. Happy Sunday to you. And welcome to the Shoot Around presented by SeatGeek. Use the code NBK, ladies and gentlemen, and get $20 off of your first purchase. You can find a link in the description of this video. Go get your Knicks tickets. I got Uncle Fulio. I got Nate with me. And we're going to talk about last night's game. Then a little bit later on, about 2:30 today, we're going to do a game preview of the Knicks versus the Bulls in Chicago. That's another big game for the New York Knicks. Last night was a must-win, ladies and gentlemen. It was a must-win. The Knicks pulled it out, but it was a struggle all night long. So let's go ahead and let's get into this. Let me pull these guys in here. Fellas, good morning to you. How are you? Josh, what's popping with you, my man? How you feeling this morning?
Morning. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Nate. Good morning to the NBK family. Good morning to the chat. Wow, we won. Knicks had a victory. I know it was against a 1-13 now 1-14 team, but I'm just glad we pulled the game out. We're still struggling a little bit on the offensive end now. The defense has picked it up over the past few games, but offensively we got to get better. And I have some theories as to why stuff is happening. I know Nick Twitter and the Nick universe is kind of going crazy about the start lineup in the offense, but I have some potential solutions that I think we could employ in order to try to get better. So I look forward to sharing that today.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right, let's see. Nate, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How you feeling this morning?
Good. I didn't see a lot of the game yesterday. I kind of just kept up on the scoreboard. I just looked at the box score. I mean, Burke had a hell of a game. I mean, and the funny thing about Burke is that a lot of people were like, why did we bring this guy back? Or, we need to see more of Grimes. And Burke has really been very impressive lately, especially with his 3-point shot. And so, I saw Evan had 19 points, so that's good. He finally got a little out of that slump. There's a big debate right now between should Burke overseed Evan in the starting lineup. So I'm kind of interested to see what your thoughts on that are.
Well, we can get into that right now. I don't know what my thoughts on it are. I will say this. I like the second unit and what the second unit does. And I'm afraid of moving somebody out of the second unit into the starting unit, and now you have 2 units that have to adjust. Because a lot of what's going on with the first unit is adjusting with one another, adjusting to one another. To me, that's a lot that's going on with the first unit. Evan Fournier is not that bad as far as, being a player that's only going to score 6 points a game. Prior to last night's game, he was averaging 6 points a game over the previous 5 games. He's not that bad. Okay? Julius Randle is not a 16-point per game player like he was doing over the last 5 games, although last night he only scored 16 points. All right? But he's not that bad. RJ Barrett's not as bad as he's been playing. So at some point, the pendulum is going to swing back the other way. Or it's going to finally find its way into the middle. Because we started off the season hot. Now we're in the doldrums offensively. At some point, it's going to get to the middle. know what I mean? And we're going to find out what this team truly is, at least that starting five, what it truly is offensively.
So you're just saying kind of ride the wave until we get to that middle ground to where we kind of, get to like the 20 game or 25 game mark, and then.
I mean, you got to fake it till you make it. That's what the Knicks are doing right now. You fake it till you make it. You know what I'm saying?
I love that saying.
That's what we're doing, man. We're faking it till we make it. And I mean,
a lot of faking.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what we have to do right now. Just stay above water until we start hitting our stride. Now, if we realize like, hey, we're not hitting a stride, this is our stride, then you got to start making some moves.
But let me ask you this question. But don't you think, like, if we did decide to make that move to put Burke in the starting lineup over Fournier, that would probably be the most lateral move out of all the changes that you're looking at making, because they're kind of similar players. I think Evan plays a little bit more inside, or can play more inside, to where Burke is more of a perimeter guy. But I think both could benefit from the switch, because I think Burke, definitely his pop and the three-point shot could definitely help in the starting lineup. But I think Evan's aggressiveness of getting to the cup could definitely help with that second unit, because the second unit doesn't really have that person who can drive to the basket. So I'm just saying, I mean, that would probably be the most lateral move.
Derrick Rose?
Outside of Derrick Rose. Forgot about that.
Yeah. I mean, I just... Listen.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, I've been reading a lot of comments and a lot of posts, and they've all been saying the same thing. You need to move Burke into the starting lineup, take Evan, put him on the bench. But like I said, it's fine. I mean, as long as we keep winning, or we keep winning, then it doesn't matter. But when you keep losing, that's when everybody starts questioning things, and things start going haywire.
Right. Listen, I agree that Burks can probably fit. I mean, I'm sorry, Evan Fournier would probably fit well with the second unit, with the style of basketball play. I definitely agree with that. I don't know if Burks fits better in the starting unit just because he's playing better than Burks. Remember, he's playing with the second unit, okay? Just because he's playing better than Fournier at this point in time. We don't know if you move him into the starting lineup and you have Julius Randle, who needs the ball in his hands to create, Kemba Walker, who needs the ball in his hands to be effective, and then now Alec Burks, who needs the ball in his hands to be effective.
But you'd have two knockdown shooters now. You'd have Burke on one side of the end, and you'd have RJ on the other side. So if Randall does get those double teams, which he probably might still, he could kick it out to a more willing shooter like Burks, who's really hot right now from three. So that's just my argument.
That's right now. That's hot right now.
Sure.
There's going to come a point in time in the season when he's not hot from three.
No.
Right, like the beginning of the season, and which that the only issue with Evan Fournier in the starting lineup right now is he's just not knocking down shots. That's the issue. So the argument is you put Burks in the starting lineup over Fournier, Burks can have the same issues where he's not knocking down shots. I think right now, because Burks is hot, you're saying, oh, throw Burks in the starting lineup, but they get a starting lineup a boost. But again,
right.
That is,
and that's
me,
why.
I just hold on. I just don't agree with that reasoning. If that's the reasoning, I just don't agree with that. Because
no, it's not. Because I said it.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Like you said live by the three, die by the three. That's what this team's mantra is. So there's going to be times where Burks is not going to be hitting shots. Right now, Evan Fournier is not hitting shots. He got hot last night, but again, this live by the three, die by the three attitude, by substituting the lineups out, you don't change that philosophy, right? Because there's going to be times where guys are going to be hot and guys are not. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I agree what you're saying. I think like Sim was saying, that I think this move is more for Evan than it is for Burks. I think Burks, you can slide him in bench or starter. He's been that way. I think Evan needs more shots, and I think he needs to maybe gel with a second team where he could get more opportunities, because they could turn to him outside of Derrick Rose. Because as you saw, Derrick Rose last night only had 4 points. Emmanuel Quickley did well. So, I mean, that's good if Quickly's playing well, but I'm just saying, I mean, just to give Evan an opportunity, I think he would gel more with second unit. That's all I'm saying. So, like I said, it's more of a lateral move if you're making that choice, because I think both players you could switch them out and it wouldn't be that much of a difference. But I mean, that's just what I was curious.
I mean, so I mean, that's why to me, if you're gonna make that move, you might as well not just give their starting unit some more time to see if they can come together. If they don't come together, then that might not even be the move. It might be something else that you have to do. You know what I mean? If they're unable to come together.
I think that's what Tibbs is doing. You're right.
Yeah, last night, Julius Randle had 16 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. He didn't shoot well from the field, 26.7% from the field, so that continues. He shot okay from 3. He was 2 for 6. He shot 33.3% from the three-point line, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. He's still not shooting well. He just can't find the rhythm out there. Julius Randle can't. Evan Fournier led the way. Oh, I'm sorry. He didn't lead the way in scoring. He had 19, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Had a good night shooting from the field. He was 7 for 13 from the field, 5 for 10 from the three-point line. But they were led by Alec Burks, the guy we're talking about. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He had 5 steals. He was 6 for 8 from the field. He was 6 for 7 from the three-point line, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. I mean, he saved this in the fourth quarter. You know, the Knicks were trailing in the fourth quarter, and Alec Burks started to get steals, and he started to hit shots. You know, now, what I did notice yesterday is that Julius Randle was the primary ball handler all night long. He advanced the ball up the floor. He initiated the offense. And I'm going to be honest with you, Josh. Not that Julius Randle did anything special or is a better point guard than a Kemba Walker or whoever. But the Knicks are used to playing that way. R.J. Barrett is used to playing that way. Tom Thibodeau is used to coaching that way. Julius Randle is used to playing that way. I think the Knicks need to continue to play this way until everybody figures out their role in that starting unit. Just let it go ahead and revolve around Julius Randle instead of trying these other things. And then slowly implement new sets, new plays that require Kemba to be the primary ball handler, or, you know, utilize Fournier and Kemba and those type of things, because this is what the team knows. Even Mitchell Robinson, although he didn't play a lot of games last season, he practiced with Julius Randle being the point forward. He watched games and sucked it in through osmosis with Julius Randle being the point forward. So this is what they know right now, and I think he should stick with it until other things can start to develop. What do you think, Josh? What do you think about that?
So I've never had a problem with Julius Randle bringing the ball up the floor. I never had a problem with him being the point forward. I think that is a strength of his game rather than a detriment, right? But I think with the addition of Kemba Walker, everyone assumed that Kemba Walker was going to be this floor general. Mm-hmm. You know, Knicks finally have a point guard all of a sudden, which Kemba Walker is really not that guy. Kemba Walker is a guy who, when he was in Charlotte, he was used to dominating the ball. He was used to scoring. His scoring is what allowed other people to get open. He wasn't this kind of guy to like put guys in a position to be successful as far as a floor general. That wasn't Kemba Walker's role. And now, because his knees are a little bit gone, he's still not going to be that player. Kemba Walker's going to be a guy who's going to get hot. He's going to, knock some shots down or what have you. He's not going to drive to the basket. His game is completely either mid-range and out. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to break his guy down off the dribble. So I have no problem with Julius Randle being that ball-dominating person. And I think Julius Randle, with his ability to draw double teams, is going to get guys open shots. That's what's been happening for the majority of the season. The problem is guys are not knocking down their shots when they're there. So I absolutely have no problem with Julius Randle dominating the ball, being the focal point of the offense. And guys just need to knock their shots down.
Yeah, and you can see in the chat, there's people in the chat that, don't agree with us. RG the OG said that's a problem. Heck Breezo said he passes at players' toes. Here's the point, though. Here's the point. It's not about if he's the best passer on the team, or if we like the fact that he is going to be the facilitator on this team at this point. It's not about that. It's about what the team knows and how they play best and how you begin to grow and develop that offense. And this is what they know right now. This is what he knows right now. Last night, he didn't dominate the basketball as far as taking shots, ladies and gentlemen. So let's not make up that story. Because if you do, that's a lie. Yes, he took the most shots on the team at 15. That's still not a lot of shots. You go look at most teams' primary players, they take 19, 20, 25 shots. He took 15 shots. He brought the ball up the floor. He initiated the offense, but he got it around to everybody. Let's not be fooled. He had 9 assists last night. And I'm not saying his passes are the most accurate. And yes, he does beam the ball at people. And sometimes he passes it low. But tell me what's been happening with Kemba Walker being the primary ball handler. Somebody tell me that. I mean, the last 5 games prior to last night, we averaged 97.8 points per game without him being the primary ball handler. Without him being the primary ball handler. We scored 106 last night. It's not a heck of a lot of points. But we still only shot 42.3% from the field. 42.3%. And he was part of that. He shot more shots at the basket last night. But RJ shot 31% from the field. Kemba Walker, 43% from the field. Derrick Rose, 25% from the field. Obi Toppin, only 33% from the field. And a lot of times, these guys were getting wide open shots. RJ was 1 for 5 from the three-point line. And a lot of those three-pointers were wide open and delivered from Julius Randle. Why? Why are these guys open, and why did the offense move better last night, in my opinion? And I don't have the video to show you now, but I can get it if you don't believe me. If you want to, we can do a separate show. If you want to take me on with it, the proof is there in the pudding. The ball moved better last night. We just didn't make shots. Yet still, we had 25 assists on 33 makes. That's ball movement, my friends. 33 makes last night. We had 33 makes. 33 times the ball was shot and went to the basket, and 25 of those 33 makes were assisted. That's a result of ball movement. We only took 78 shots last night. 25 of those 33 makes were assisted. That's a result of better ball movement. Go ahead, Josh.
No, Nate wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Nate.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with you, Sim. I mean, that's what got Julius Randle the MIP last year, because he was the passer on the team. He was the rebounder. He was the scorer. Obviously, right now, the scoring he's struggling at, but he'll come out of it. I'm not worried about that. The fact that they want to make him the focal point of the offense, that's totally fine by me. It almost seems like when they took Kemba Walker before the season started, it's almost like Tom Thibodeau maybe thought in his mind, like, let's see what Kemba does. Let's see what he has in himself before we go back to making Julius the focal point of this offense. And I think that he said himself, you know what? I don't see what I want to see. So we're going to go back to Julius being the main ball handler, because that's what won us last year. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think that maybe Tibbs decided to go a different route when they got Kemba and said, okay, well, let's include Kemba and let's see what kind of change this offense could look. Obviously, it looks very stagnant at times. And so he's like, let's go back to Julius Randle. He's the focal point. He's the reason why the Knicks are relevant again. So I'm okay with the move. I just want to see Julius get his points up more. And yeah, he's got to take more than 15 shots. I mean, he's the main guy. Right. So he's got to take at least 25 shots. I'm fine with that, but hopefully he can mix it up.
But here's the thing. If he really is going to be the primary ball handler, then he's not taking 25 shots. And I'm okay with that as long as the ball is moving and we're scoring, right? Because if he's the primary ball handler and he's taking 25 shots, then that might mean that the ball's not getting around to other people. You know what I'm saying? If he's just taking 16 shots, I don't care. It's about when you take those shots. And if Julius Randle was efficient from the field last night, he would have scored more points. Right? He was 4 for 15. If he's 8 for 15, he's got 21 points or something. He was 4 for 15.
Sam, I guess I have a theory about this whole thing, and I know we were talking in the offseason about the Knicks. They wanted to shoot more threes, which I have no problem with that. But I think the way the starting lineup is constructed, and I want to say a little bit of the roster construction, I don't think the Knicks are really at this point built to shoot that many threes, right? If they're making it, okay, you know what I'm saying? You know, if they're making their 3-pointers, obviously this is not even a conversation. I think the Knicks would have won more games. I think they would be scoring more points. I think our offense will look more fluid. But I just really think the problem with the Knicks starting lineup right now is they need a stretch 5. They need a 5 who can be able to stretch the floor a little bit and open up those driving lanes for Julius and for RJ to get to the basket. Right now, with Nerlens Noel down there and Mitchell Robinson, I know what they bring on the defensive end. But offensively, you know, they don't provide us anything either around the rim or, you know, maybe second chance points or what have you, but they don't give us any threat offensively underneath the rim, and they can't stretch the floor out. So it makes the floor a little bit tighter for Julius Randle and RJ Barrett to get to the basket. So my proposal is the Knicks either need to go out and get a stretch 5 to put into that starting lineup, or go with the small ball lineup and have Randle play the 5. I think that will open up the offense so much more, because then you have guys who can stretch it out a little bit. If the 3 ball's not falling, you then have some lanes opened up for RJ and for Randle to get to the paint and take advantage of that man.
But can you go? Can you go with that small ball lineup against everybody? I mean, some teams
Who's your
can.
4-man?
You know, some teams you can. You probably could have did it last night a little more, you know, a little bit. I don't think they did it at all last night. You probably could have did it last night because the Rockets play small, but can you go with it against everybody?
Well, obviously, it's going to be at a mismatch when you talk about the Joel Embiids and the Jokers and those big bruising centers, right? I think the Knicks are going to be at a disadvantage at that point. But the small ball lineup is not that bad defensively. That's actually a really good defensive lineup. If you look at the numbers, that plus minus is really good together when they're on the floor. They don't allow that many points. So I think if Thibodeau can find a way to scheme it, Julius Randle can defend some 5s in the NBA. He really can. Obviously, you know, he's going to be in a mismatch against the Embiids, but if the Knicks can play good enough team defense, I think that lineup can work out there on the floor, you know, not just on what they can do defensively potentially, but offensively, you open up the floor for Julius and RJ to take advantage of that man and exploit them. And then that creates open shots for others on the perimeter.
And also,
because right now, we only depend on the 3 ball. If the 3 ball is not falling, our offense looks in shambles. If Evan Fournier is knocking down the shots and that, you know, everything is all good, but if he's not, we have no type of paint presence. The Knicks are bottom of the NBA, towards the bottom of the NBA, and the percentage of points that they score in the paint and the amount of shots that they take in the paint. We have no offensive paint presence at all. And people want Julius Randle to be that, but I think with Mitchell Robinson there and with Nerlens Noel there, it's more difficult for him to do so.
And so I think too, you make their bigs work too if you put Julius Randle at the 5. You know, you're gonna wear out a little bit of Embiid or a Joker because they're having to, you know, Julius Randle can move around. You can put him a lot of different places on the court. But also too, Josh, I think we need a penetrating guard, man, and we've been saying that for the longest time. We don't have a penetrating guard, and it sure as hell's not Kemba Walker. We need somebody that can get to the paint, that can get to the bucket, that can suck in the defense and kick out.
Nate, but here's the thing, though, and a lot of Knicks fans are going to disagree with me. Elfrid Payton used to drive to the lane last season. He was a point guard that can at least penetrate and get to the lane. He wasn't going to make the shot. He was terrible.
Well, we need one that can make buckets. We need one that can get us buckets and get to the.
I'm talking about just the penetration, the ability to break down the defense and create open shots by getting in the paint. Elfrid Payton wasn't going to finish that well, but at least he wasn't scared to break down. He was a bigger guard. He can be able to get into the paint. You know what I'm saying? So I think, you know, people can say what they want about Elfrid Payton. I'm not saying he was the best player, but I think having Kemba Walker on the floor, you know, kind of hurts this team in a way if Kemba Walker's not knocking down shots because he can't penetrate.
Nobody fears him.
That's not his game. So that's just the way I feel about that.
I mean, you know, the numbers that we see with the small ball unit, you know, going back to that, I feel like you're not really going to know what that unit actually does until they play against better competition, because normally that small ball unit either uses it as a desperation move, right, when things aren't going well, or when another team is playing small ball. And so I'm not sure we truly know exactly what that unit can do against, some real tough competition. You know what I'm saying? Because we've only seen them, in spurts here and there. And normally it's against another small team, or out of desperation. I mean, I don't know. I think he, I don't know. I get nervous. I get a little scared about the rim protection, especially against more aggressive teams going to the basket, because there's not going to be a lot of rim protection there. And I'm not saying anything about Obi and whether or not he's playing defense, because he is playing defense. He's playing good defense. So I'm not saying he's playing bad defense or anything like that. But I just get worried about that rim protection. Obviously, the size matchups when you're playing against the Embiids and those guys, there's going to be some problems. And does Obi even make the three at a high enough clip right now? I mean, at least he shoots it, so it's respectable. I can say that.
Yes.
The reality is that we need more from our centers. I mean, it's just that simple.
Wow.
I mean, they got to have some kind of offensive threat. I mean, because if they don't have an offensive threat, then it's going to be like, when we played the Atlanta series, they didn't even take our center seriously, and they just dogged them the whole time. And even Mitch Robinson, as big as he is, I don't know what the heck's going on with Mitch. I really don't know. I don't know if he wants out of New York or what he wants. He looks very he doesn't look interested at all. He looks very lost at times. I mean, at some point we got to cut the ties with him. I don't know what it is. It just, I don't see it. I'm not seeing it. It's frustrating me because he's so talented. He's a big dude that's athletic, that, you look at his body, like, this dude should average 10 rebounds a game, 3 blocks, at least 10 points. And I just don't see it from Mitch. I don't know what's going on with him. I wish I had a better idea of what's going on in his head right now, because it just doesn't look like he's in the game half the time when I watch him play. That's why he's not getting a lot of minutes.
Tim, remember in the offseason when we were talking about Nerlens Noel taking 3-point shots?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't this? No, Nate. It's funny, but I think Sim might have had a point. I think that would open up the offense a little bit more. I was so glad to see Nerlens Noel shoot it yesterday. But if we had a stretch 5 out there that can spread it out just to open up those driving lanes for Randall and for RJ, I think the offense would be so much better. But with Mitchell Robinson there and Nerlens not spreading the floor, I think we're at a little bit of a disadvantage. Now we got to just depend on guys to knock down that 3-point shots. When it's not falling, what else are we going to depend on? We have no paint game whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, Julius Randle is our best in the paint player, and he did take more shots in the paint last night. And so, hopefully this is something that he recognized. Julius Randle, I hate to say it, but it does a lot of times feel like, he listens to the media a lot, right? Because all of a sudden, the previous game, and of course Tom Thibodeau's going to say, he took what the game gave him, right? But there was an effort for him to get to the basket last night. Julius Randle took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots from the 3-point line, 2 shots from the mid-range, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots in the paint. That's much better distributed. Now, he missed all of his shots in the paint, besides 1. So he took 7 shots in the paint. 1 was a dunk. All right, but he missed all of his shots in the paint except for the dunk.
But I'm okay with that. I'd rather him do that than take 6, 7 threes on the 3-point line. Right. Honestly, I'd rather him play inside.
But the issue is having another center out there, a 5 in there, that's gonna not draw his man away from the paint. That makes those shots way harder for RJ and for Randall to make, because we don't have anybody else to draw their man away. That's why you see it even against Atlanta last season in the playoffs, when Randall would try to go to the paint or whatever. There was always that second defender coming over, and for some reason the Knicks couldn't find a way to get the 5 the ball, so he can be able to make shots. Noel can't catch. He's not going to catch the ball underneath the rim.
That's what I'm surprised he said he shot that 3. I was like, did he catch it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Mitchell Robinson was on his way to having a good game last night until he went out and couldn't make it back. All right. And for those who may not have watched the game, he got elbowed in the nose, and he was not able to return to the game. We'll see what happens from there, if he's going to be on the injury list or not. But He played 17 minutes last night. I'm sure he would have played more. He had 6 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Okay, I'm going to say Mitchell Robinson would have played at least 12 more minutes last night and probably had double-digit points and double-digit rebounds. But I do understand about him spreading the floor. That's not what he's going to do. Last night, the Knicks took 78 shots, as I mentioned earlier. 41 of those shots were from the three-point line. 41 of your 78 shots. That means they took 37 shots, from the 2-point range. They were 44% from the three-point line last night, 18 for 41. So they were knocking it down for the most part. But they're not scoring in the mid-range. They're not scoring at the basket. And 78 shots is not enough. But they probably played a little bit of a slower game by going through Julius Randle. So which one are we going to have? Which one is it? Do we want them playing where they're shooting 99 shots, but they're not hitting their shots? Do we want them playing a little slower, but they're hitting their shots? They've got to figure it out. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle when it's all said and done. The issue is getting to the point where it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And watching the development, watching the growth, watching the ups and downs. That's the problem that we all as fans have an issue with, right? Because we want to see it happen right away. Right away, we want to see it's clicking. When reality, and I'm part of that problem. I know I am. Because I get frustrated when I see, either they're getting open shots and missing them or it just looks bogged down. Or the rotations look funny. I get frustrated myself. But it is a developmental process. It's going to go through some ups and downs until they figure out, what works best for this particular group. And I think that's the issue. Last night they struggled though against a 1-13 team coming in or whatever they were. They struggled. In the first quarter, the Knicks had 13 points, ladies and gentlemen. 13 points in the first quarter. It's not a good look. And it's not like the Houston Rockets were hot. Check this out. In the first quarter, the Houston Rockets shot 33% from the field. 33% from the field in the first quarter.
Right.
They shot 15% from the three-point line in the first quarter. They had 8 turnovers in the first quarter. That by itself is a recipe for disaster, and yet they led the New York Knicks by 8 points at the end of the first quarter. That's as bad as it gets. That is as bad as it gets. The Knicks only had 3 turnovers in the first quarter, but they only shot 21% from the field, and they shot 30% from the three-point line. It tells you the story right there. If you don't make shots, you don't win games. Now, after the first quarter, it got much better. The Knicks scored 34 points in the second quarter. All right, they scored 25 in the third, although they were outscored 26-25. Then they scored 34 points in the fourth quarter. But they struggled with the Houston Rockets. The Rockets had 56 points in the paint. It's a lot. The Knicks only had 26.
And you won the game?
All right. The Knicks had 45 points off the bench. All right. The Rockets had 37 points off the bench. The Rockets had 22 turnovers. They turned the ball over a lot. You're going to get the ball back. But the Knicks only had 15 points off of those 22 turnovers. I'd like to see more. The Rockets had 25 points off of turnovers, right? But the Knicks only had 12 turnovers on the night. But the Rockets converted off of those turnovers. Led to a lot of
Sim,
fast
can I ask you a
breaks.
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you think the Knicks struggled in the third quarter? I can't understand, because every time, that's the biggest reason why if the Knicks lose a game, it's because they come out in the third quarter and they're flat. And then they find a way to get juice in the fourth quarter and they either win it or come close to winning it. So is it lack of adjustments, or what do you think? I mean, I don't think it's player motivation, but what do you think?
Can I answer first?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So,
jumping in.
so for me, I think it is total lack of adjustments. I think Tibbs goes with that starting lineup out of halftime, and I think that there is no adjustments made from the Knicks side, and I think there's a multitude of adjustments from the opposing side with that starting lineup out there. In my opinion, I think the Knicks should stagger that lineup coming out of halftime a little bit, get those guys on the floor, or some of those guys on the floor earlier, either quickly, Rose, or what have you, get them out there and go with that kind of lineup. I would like to see that lineup staggered. But to me, it's just a lack of adjustments. And I think, since it's a problem that's happening every single game, I think I'm looking at the coach at that point. I'm not looking at the players, because something has to change from that at halftime. That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, last night, Tom Thibodeau played guys like Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett deep into the first quarter, deep into the third quarter. When I go in and break down the numbers of when these guys were taken out of the game, I mean, sheesh, in the third quarter, Julius Randle played, getting to it now, 9 minutes. So he didn't come out until 3 minutes left, 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter. That's a long time. He played okay, but still, that's a long time. At some point, the player's going to tire down. R.J. Barrett played 8 minutes in the third quarter. Evan Fournier played 9 minutes and 28 seconds in the third quarter. Kemba Walker played 8 minutes and 37 seconds in the third quarter.
You think he's just trying to get as much as he can out of the starters, and then after that he just goes to the bench for the rest of the game? You think that's his mentality, maybe? And seeing what they could do?
I don't know. Fourth quarter, Julius Randle played 6 minutes and 33 seconds. Evan Fournier played 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Derrick Rose played 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Obi Toppin played 5 minutes and 27 seconds in the fourth quarter. Obviously, him and Julius Randle split that time in the fourth quarter.
That's not what you want to see in the fourth quarter for your best player playing 6 minutes. That's where you want to see him playing the 9 minutes instead of 6 minutes.
It's hard. And I was looking at Twitter because I didn't see. I had to watch the game later afterwards, and I see people in the fourth quarter, like when the Knicks took the lead, basically off of Alec Burks getting steals and hitting shots. They were like, "Oh, you better not put Julius Randle back in the game." Yeah. Then when he did, people were like, "Oh my gosh, you put him back in the game." It was like, you guys act like Obi Toppin was killing it last night. Right, he wasn't killing it.
I think we're just used to seeing the bench all the time, that we're surprised that we see the starters in the fourth quarter, because Thibs has leaned on the bench so much this season, especially lately.
Well, in the fourth quarter, there's a mix of guys from the starting lineup and guys from the bench, because, when it come down to stretch, Emmanuel Quickley was on the floor. Alec Burks was on the floor. Julius Randle was on the floor. Evan Fournier and Nerlens Noel, right? So basically, literally 2 starters were on the floor coming down the stretch of the basketball game. So he was going with who the hot hand is. It's becoming very, very clear that Emmanuel Quickley is going to be on the floor coming down the stretch of the game, because he likes his ability to shoot and he likes the defense that he's playing. Quickley's going to be on the floor. Clearly, Julius Randle's going to be on the floor. Mitchell Robinson is, who knows who's going to be on the floor from the center position, because guys keep on getting hurt from that position. So whoever's playing that night will be on the floor. Normally, Derrick Rose is going to be out there, but he wasn't playing well last night. Alec Burks had it going. Alec Burks has been our best fourth quarter player over the last 6 games.
Yeah.
It's been our best fourth quarter player. You got to put him out there. You got to put him out there.
We say that.
You got to put him out there. He's been our best player. So you got to make sure he's on the floor. And the way it is right now, he's going to continue to make sure Alec Burks is out there. It doesn't matter if he's starting or not. He's going to be out there on the floor. He's going to be out there on the floor. Over the last 5 games, talking about the Knicks defense, ladies and gentlemen, The Knicks have a defensive rating of 103.5 over the last 5 games.
Improvement.
103.5. There's been a lot of complaints about the defense and the fact, and I'm saying fact, that we give up a lot of forays into the paint, which we do. I know I've complained about it a lot, but the defense is playing better. And really, they're playing better over the last 6 games because before coming into last night's game, their defensive rating was like 104 point something. And they were 11th in the league. Any thoughts about the defense?
I think the defense is much improved, Sam. I was really worried about the defense at the beginning of the season, but it looks like the team is starting to step it up on that side of the basketball, primarily due to the bench. It's not going to be Kemba and Fournier, but Alec Burks is much better defensively. Obi Toppin is much better defensively. Emmanuel Quickley is much better defensively. So I think that, Tibbs is, like you said earlier, the Knicks and Tibbs are trying to figure out a good balance right now. Early in the season, it was all about offense. We were going to improve our offensive production and struggle on the defense a little bit. Now the tide has kind of turned back to the other way, back to what it was last season. That's why our pace is down. We're not shooting the ball as much as we did last season. So I think all that stuff contributes to us having a really good defense. And I think now the offense is starting to struggle now. So now the Knicks, like you said, just has to put it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ahead,
I mean, this team's identity is defense. The catalyst is going to be their defense if we're going to get back into the playoffs. I don't see this being a way we can maybe find a balance. I think this team has to play really, really good defense and just get, timely baskets and open shots from our good players. But I don't expect this team to be offensively a good offense. I think it's going to be a very average, below average offense, but we're going to be a great defensive team. And that's okay. That's what Tibbs' calling card is his defense. He is a defensive mind guru. So, I'm totally fine with that because at the end of the day, defense does win out. Yeah, offense is exciting to watch, but you better play defense. And I'm okay with the Knicks being a top defense and a average to below average offense. It's going to be hard to balance both out. It really is.
I mean, right now we're kind of a below average offense. We gotta
But
have
the defense is picking up.
The defense is picking up, but you still got to score the ball because other teams are going to score the ball. Bottom line, other teams are going to score. We've got to be able to score the basketball. And you just got to. If you can't, we got to find a way to balance it out where we're playing good defense and we're scoring the basketball at least at a decent clip. You know what I mean? We can't score the basketball at freaking, average 104 points all the time. If we're averaging 104 points, we're not winning anything. And now I think they're taking strides to get there. That's part of the reason why they're shooting so many 3-point shots. Trying to figure out ways to get the offense humming. And like you see, I don't know, if you've coached basketball, one thing that you notice is that if you teach a player something, they start to use that tool all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're using it all the time. I'll take the pump fake as an example. You teach a young player how to pump fake. And then all of a sudden, every time they get the ball, they're pump faking, even when they don't need to pump fake because they've learned how to pump fake. They're pump faking. They're pump faking. They're pump faking. And you're like, hey, you don't need to pump fake right now. Right? But they can't help it because this is what they've learned. And then what happens is they start to understand that they don't need to pump fake. And they start to understand how and when to use the pump fake. Right? It's kind of the same thing that's happened with the Knicks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They've started to shoot the 3-point shot more. And
It becomes a habit.
And even more than they probably need to shoot it. And then because they're shooting a 3-point shot more, they're neglecting going inside. and finding how to shoot in the mid-range and all that kind of stuff. And at some point, though, it's going to balance out, and they're going to figure out how to do both. At least that's what I think. That's what I think is going to happen. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. Because if not, then we're going to be in trouble. We're definitely going to be in trouble.
Do you think? Let me ask you this question, because you brought up a great point. When we talked about the Knicks at the beginning of the season, we knew coming into this season their defense is stellar. Their defense was number one, top three in all rankings, pretty much all the way throughout. So we knew the offense was going to be the issue. So they go out and get two guys in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier that you hopefully are going to bring in more offense, because you get rid of Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock, who are more defensive-minded players. Now, the philosophy obviously was early on, let's shoot more threes, and try to get the offense up. It's understandable that is what the issue was, because we all saw that as fans, that the offense needed to get a boost, but the defense was really good last year. Is it fair to say that they maybe tinkered too much with these changes and maybe should have just let things play out the way it was last year? Or is it because you bring in the players in the offseason that you're automatically expected to make these changes because you're adapting to more offensive-minded players than defensive-minded players? Does that make sense?
So are you saying that they should have kept the same players?
No, I'm saying, well, no, not necessarily. I'm just saying I think that these philosophies that they had on the offensive side, I think that maybe they should have just kind of stayed the way they were last year, where it was more defensive-minded, and yeah, you're going to bring in some offensive players, sure, but we don't have to take 20 million threes. That's not our game. That's not the people that we have. That's not the personnel we have. And just keep it the way it is. Like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If that's the way we got to the playoffs last year, let's build upon that by just bringing in other players, but they have to buy into what we're doing, kind of like the Spurs do. The Spurs, they bring every person they bring in. They don't play to their skills. They play to the system. So if Tibbs' system is you're going to be defensive minded, we're going to be defensive, and we're going to get baskets how we get baskets, that's how the players should do. Instead, I think they kind of played more to the players they brought in and said, okay, we're going to shoot more threes now. No, you play defense, and you just get your players to buy into that, and the offense will come. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, but as some way you have to start to, you figure out what your players are, where they're strong, what their strengths are, right? And you've got to try to ingratiate them into your offense, right? And use their skill set, because if you don't use their skill set, what are you bringing them there for? So, I agree. You do what you know, and then you slowly start to ingratiate them into your offensive system, utilizing their skill set. But if you don't utilize their skill set, then you brought them there for nothing. If you're just going to use Evan Fournier like he's Reggie Bullock, then what was the point in bringing Evan Fournier, and you might as well have kept Reggie Bullock?
Sim, I agree with Nate here. I see where Nate's going with this. I think Tom Thibodeau tried to change up way too much. I don't think, first of all, Evan Fournier is playing like Reggie Bullock right now, if you want to think about it. He's not putting the ball on the floor. He's not driving anywhere. He's not, he's not doing anything dynamic with the basketball, and not any more than what Reggie Bullock
right, did. And look at our scoring. That's what I'm saying. Look at our scoring.
But that's what I'm saying. You said that we need to adapt to, the players that we brought in. Evan Fournier is not playing like what we thought he was going to play like. You know what I'm saying? Evan Fournier he's just not dynamic enough, or, to me, a little bit like he's not more dynamic than Reggie Bullock is. That's not the way he's playing right now. So I see where Nate is going. I think Tom Thibodeau, he tried to change up his philosophy, not change, but adjust his philosophy a little bit more to incorporate more threes, and then instead of letting it come naturally. I think by having those guys on the floor, I think stuff would have kind of came a little bit more naturally. But if you put out the philosophy as we need to shoot more threes, I think that kind of affected the team a little bit. I think his coaching philosophy definitely affected the team a little bit. And right now, I don't think we have the roster, or at least the roster construction, to go out and do what Tom Thibodeau is asking these players to do.
I agree that he changed it a lot. And it's the reason why I'm saying we need to go back, flowing through Julius Randle, etc. But you still have to work to utilize your players' skill sets. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't try to slide them into the offense and utilize their skill set, then you're going to do a disservice to them and the team, as far as I'm concerned. Could you have done it more slowly? Yes, I believe you could do it slower. Figure it out as you're going along. You know, say, okay, this is what we do. We're going to start with this because this is the baseline. And then we're going to figure out, how do we use Fournier? How do we use Kemba? You know, the best way to utilize their skill sets. I definitely agree with that, but we can't do that the entire year.
Right. Yeah. I get it. There needs to be. I totally agree. There needs to be probably a slow progression towards that. But to come out the gate saying we're going to shoot X amount of threes per game, we're going to try to get. I don't know, Thibodeau didn't say this specifically, but you can tell that's what the philosophy was on the board. We wanted to be able to shoot more threes, shoot. You know what I'm saying? I think by putting that out there, it kind of gave the players kind of this improper message, so if you will. And I think that
it's confusing.
It is kind of confusing in a way. Now you got Julius trying to figure out what his role is. RJ is still trying to figure out what his role is. The new players in the offense are still trying to adapt. So I do believe the Knicks really, based on that coaching philosophy, and I think that's the primary reason why we're having so many offensive troubles right now. That and guys not knocking down their shots. But again, live by the three, die by the three. So if that's the type of team philosophy that you're going to go with, you have to be able to accept when it's not going that well, when the ball is not falling.
I mean, but that's a big thing. Guys not hitting shots. That's a huge part of it. Because guys just aren't hitting their shots. Where if they were hitting their shots, I mean, the Knicks are still shooting a pretty good percentage from the three-point line. And if they were knocking down these shots at even a higher clip, they'd be you'd see them scoring, so much more points. So the system, as far as getting the open shots, is clearly working, right? Now they have to execute. They got to execute.
Here's the question.
But there are little things. I'm gonna get you right to you, Nate. There are little things though that you see someone like a Fournier does that I don't think Reggie Bullock was doing. And they pointed it out on the Knicks post game last night. Right? When Alec Burks got an open shot from Julius Randle, delivered from Julius Randle. And when he got that shot, there was just a slight cut to the basket that Evan Fournier did that Reggie Bullock didn't do. That freed up Alec Burks. Right? So while we say he's being used just like Reggie Bullock, there's things that he does because of his basketball IQ that is still different, that help to free up players without the ball even being in his hands, that eventually I think is going to work and help the offense to be more dynamic. It's just, we gotta fake it till we make it. We gotta continue to get through these tough spots and fake it till we make it. And of course that's the difficult part. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my question, you kind of answered it already. So you think it's just mostly we're just in a slump? That's just basically what it is. We're in a slump right now. We're just not hitting the shots. It's not personnel or the people we have. It's just more the sense that we're just not hitting our shots, and that it'll come, like any shooter that goes through a slump is going to come out of it at some point. I
mean, I think that they're going to come out of it. Can they come out of it and learn how to work together? I think that's the issue. Right, Evan Fournier can get hot, but if Julius Randle continues to not shoot well from the field and RJ Barrett continues to not shoot well from the field, it's going to continue to be a struggle. They've got to come out of it together as a unit, playing together, playing better as a unit. You know what I mean? And if that doesn't happen, then the team is not going to be much better just because Fournier gets better. You know what I mean? It's got to be as a unit that they get better. They've got to do it as a unit. We've seen Fournier have games where he come out of a slump or whatever, the first game and the game last night. We've seen Kemba have his games where he came out of it. We've seen RJ have some games where he was hot, right? We've seen Randall have some games where he was hot. So individually, as individuals, these guys have the ability to break out of a shooting stretch. But collectively, can they come together and do it as a team? I think that's what Simmons is saying.
That's the part we don't know.
Yeah, it's inconsistencies of the players themselves. I mean, let's be honest, RJ has never been consistent as much as we want him to be. Fournier, I didn't watch a lot of Fournier before New York signed him, so I can't really talk about him. Kimba is what he is. Randall is probably the one person that we would expect to be the most consistent because, for the most part, his game is pretty efficient. I mean, yeah, he's added the three-pointer, but he's always been a guy who could get the mid-range and the inside. I just think Randall's going through a slump right now. I'm not worried about Randall. I think Randall will come out of it at some point. But RJ needs to be more consistent. Fournier needs to be more consistent. These guys need to pick up Randall when he's not playing well. Last night, let's be honest, if this had been against a better team, we probably would have lost this game.
Oh, we would have got blown out.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of this slump has to do with them thinking on the floor, trying to figure out how to play together.
Right.
I think that has a whole lot to do with it. Because instead of playing the game naturally and doing things through second nature, they're thinking. I mean, you see them bump into each other a lot. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They're on the floor. They're trying to, hand the ball off. They're bumping into each other, stepping. Like, all of these little things are indicative of a team that's thinking. They can't play together naturally. They're trying to figure it out. And it's going to be a struggle until they figure it out. And we hope that they figure it out. Hopefully, sure, they can continue to rely on the defense. We've got to figure out a way to keep guys from getting into the paint. But over the last 6 games, when you look at their defense, their defensive rating is 103.3. Opponents are scoring 99.8 points per game over the last 3 games. Opponents' field goal percentage is 41.5%. Opponents' three-point percentage is 32.5%. Opponents' assists are 21.8%. They're averaging 21.8 assists per game. Opponents' offensive rebounds, they're getting 12.2. Opponents' second chance points are 15.2, and that's not very good. That's towards the bottom of the league. That's one of the highest in the league as far as opponents' second chance points. That's not good.
Yeah.
Opponents' fast break points. And that right there is what is, as far as there being a downfall of the defense, this is that downfall. Allowing teams to get offensive rebounds and allowing teams to get second chance points. That's the downfall of the defense right there. You know what I mean? And why the Knicks aren't really putting teams away with this type of defense, because this is a strong defense.
Exactly.
Besides that, opponents' fast break points, 8.3 fast break points per game. And when you look at the rankings, they're ranked 6th in defensive rating right now, as of today. Over the last 6 games, is 6th in defensive rating. 5th in opponents' points. 3rd in field goal percentage. 6th in assists, in opponents' assists. 4th in opponents' fast break points. And 12th in opponents' points in the paint. So over the last 6 games, the Knicks' defense is pretty good. Pretty stellar defense. But when they're giving up those second chance points, it negates everything you're doing on that defensive side of the floor.
Hey, Sim Cassiston?
Yep. Jumping in.
I'm glad you brought up the point about the second chance points, because when I watch these Knicks games, the defense throughout the whole possession is good. They're rotating, they're getting on the player, all that. But when it comes to those 50-50 balls or those offensive rebounds,
yeah, they're slow.
I see more effort from the other team than I see from the New York Knicks. Yeah. And to me, that just seems sometimes like they just want it more than the Knicks do.
Yeah.
And especially at home, because you would think at home where you feed off the crowd, you're juiced up, you would think that you would go after all those 50-50 balls. I see the other team getting those balls half the time, and I just chalked it up to effort for me. There's no scheme or anything else you can do. That's just effort. You got to want it more than that other team. And sometimes with this team, I do question their effort when especially on those 50-50 balls or getting offensive rebounds. Like that one time where Cole Anthony had 16 rebounds as a point guard. Are you kidding me?
Like, yeah. I can definitely agree. Their effort on that side of the ball, as far as getting loose ball and things like that, is definitely lacking.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're not quick to the ball, quick off their feet to the ball or grabbing those loose balls. And they've got to be better than that. They've got to be better than that, especially because that's part of the reason why teams are getting offensive rebounds. And they have so many, scoring so many second chance points.
And why we blow big leads.
And sometimes why we blow leads. Yeah.
Sam, let me ask you a question. I don't want to ask it, but someone in the chat is talking about it. Do you think, the politics aside and the off the court stuff aside, do you think Ben Simmons can help this team right now?
Oh my God.
Ben Simmons could help the team. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. Ben Simmons is a good player. I just don't think he's worth $30 million.
Yeah, hell no.
You know what I'm saying? And I think $30 million, $30 to $35 million could be better spent. If you're going to spend that much money, I think it can be better spent. If he was making $18 million, well, let's go get him. I would. But at $30 to $35 million for the next however many years,
and the guy can't shoot.
I just don't think that. I think you can spend the money better. And I feel like you hold off on something like that until whatever that better is comes around.
I will say this about Ben Simmons, that Ben Simmons could get us buckets on the defensive side because he's great at getting into the lanes and getting those steals and going to make dunks or getting easy baskets. And I think that's one thing the Knicks players need to do better. As good as our defense is, I think we need to get more steals, but we need to turn those steals into buckets. We need to get easy baskets because that's going to help our offensive rating better too, is if we can get guys who can get into those lanes and finish. That's the main thing, is I think we don't have a lot of players on this team that can finish. They get the steal, but they don't finish. You got to finish.
Not just that, but also points in the paint in the half court set, playmaking ability from the 3 or 4 spot. You could put them anywhere right there. Mm-hmm. The Knicks are already not shooting the ball well with the players that we have already, right? Because we have no penetration. I think Ben Simmons checks all those boxes for me. Not to mention how great of a defensive.
Let's put it like this: if you bring in Ben Simmons, you cannot have Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel on the floor.
I agree with that. I don't think they should be on the floor now.
I mean, my thing is, if you have one person that doesn't shoot threes, okay, right? You got one person that doesn't shoot threes. You got everyone else around you that can shoot threes. That's the way the Knicks are right now. They're not hitting them at this point in time. And right now, we all have short-term blinders on, all of us, including myself, short-term blinders on because we're looking at right now and we're afraid that's going to last forever. At some point, this team is going to begin to hit shots. It's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to start to hit shots. And the offense is going to look better. Even though Mitchell Robinson can't shoot threes. But if you bring in Ben Simmons, you can't have Ben Simmons and Mitchell Robinson out there in the starting lineup together. That's like Elfrid Payton and Mitchell Robinson out there. So if you brought in Ben Simmons, you got to have a center that can knock down threes.
Sam, I agree with you. We're on the same page with that. I don't think they should be in the starting lineup right now. That's just my opinion. I don't. But I'm talking about as far as all the problems that the Knicks are having, right? Not having a defensive stopper, that's number one. Which the defense is improving, but offensively, not being able to score in the paint, their playmaking ability, outside of Randall is not there. I think this guy checks all the boxes, and I think if you put him on a team like this, I'm not saying go get him. I don't know, we got all the off-the-court stuff going on, but I think it's perfect for this team. Perfect. Absolute perfect fit. With Tom Thibodeau, that's just my opinion.
Well, I'll say this. You talked about Kemba, not really playmaking, though. I seen last night him and Julius Randle do some pick and roll. Julius Randle rolled to the basket, right? Can they make that a bigger part of their offense? We'll see. But Julius Randle, I believe, got a dunk at the basket off of a pick and roll. So I've seen Kemba and Julius Randle trying to do some work together, right? Little pieces like that are going to be slow to develop. Because if Ben Simmons came in here, he's not going to mesh with Randall and RJ and Fournier. Just
RJ
like
wouldn't
that.
be here. Let's be honest. He'd be gone.
Whoever. But
right.
You never know what could happen. Right now, his market is low. So you never know what could happen. There could be a 3-team trade. Who knows what could happen, right? But he's not going to mesh like that. He's still got to make some adjustments in the way that he plays the basketball. And if you bring him in with Julius Randle, one of those guys is not going to be the point forward. How's that going to work? So right now, Julius Randle's the point forward. Ben Simmons, that's what he does. He's a point forward. So now what do you do?
Hey, that's for listen. I don't want to make the trade during the season. If anything, I want to make it in the off season to have it and go about it that way. I'm just saying that guy would be for
Ben
this kind of
Simmons
team
would
right
be
now.
one heck of a small ball 5.
It would be great for this particular team right now. But during the season, obviously, I don't want to do it. Too many adjustments have to be made. But in the off season, that will be something I'll be look to do. No question.
Yeah, that. I could say this: depending on what happens by the trade deadline, the Knicks are going to be looking to make moves this year. They want to continue to get better. You know what I mean? They'll probably look to tinker with this lineup this year.
Let's do it.
You know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see. Now, if they hit the stride and they start playing well, then they might say we're going to stay put, just like they did last year at the deadline. They said, we're going to stay put. See what we do during the off season.
Well, they got Derrick Rose before that, so.
Well, they got Derrick Rose, but that was a player that they weren't using. Right, that was just sitting there at the end of the bench, and then they brought in Derrick Rose. So that I'm talking about actually pulling people out of the lineup.
Oh.
Out of your 10-man rotation to make a move. If this 10-man rotation ain't hitting, they'll make a move, I believe. If it's starting to go smooth by then, and they're playing well, and they're really starting to gel, then they'll probably stay put and let it play itself out. We will see. I don't know. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to say to everybody, please, first of all, the show is presented by SeatGeek. So you can use that code NBK to get $20 off of your first purchase. And for those who are really, really smart, you can have a first purchase a whole lot of times. Just use another email address. Don't tell SeatGeek I told you that. You know what I'm saying? But your purchase has to be over $50, which if you're buying tickets to a Knicks game, you can't get a Knicks game. You can't eat at Madison Square Garden for $50. So, your tickets are definitely going to be over $50. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, on November the 30th at Legends, New York City, we're having a live podcast and watch party. It's going to be dope. Knicks versus Nets at Legends.
Burrows.
Entry is free, ladies and gentlemen. All you got to do is register. Entry is free, but we are going to cap it at a certain number of people. So make sure you get in now. Register. Go to nbkfam.com and register. Not right now, after the show. There's a link in the description where you can go register and, be there with us. It's going to be dope. We're going to have a good time. A lot of people from NBA is going to be there. A lot of people, just fans are going to be there. Come chill with us. Knicks versus Nets. It's going to be a good game, too. Let's talk a little bit about this Chicago game coming up tonight, 8 o'clock at the United Center. We're going to do a full game preview at about 2:30. But let's finish this show off. We're talking about that. Any thoughts on that game tonight, Josh?
Well, Lonzo Ball's playing extremely well. Lonzo Ball, DeRozan, and Levine, their quasi big three is playing really, really well. I think they're coming into this game, I think, second in the Eastern Conference, if I'm not mistaken. First or second or something like that. So, listen, this is a good team we're playing tonight. We can't take them for granted, obviously. Another game on the road that we got to be able to go into their building and beat them. We did it last time, but that was a game that we had to scratch and crawl to put them away. So I expect tonight's game to be the same. I think it's going to be a close game throughout. I'm hoping the Knicks are going to be able to knock their shots down, continue to build in that continuity from last night, and hopefully we can be able to walk away with a W. But I'm a little bit nervous about it. Not going to lie to you.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Nate?
Yeah, back-to-back game. Got to see where the legs are at as far as the game. Is Vucevic back? I know he had COVID. Is he back?
I think he became eligible yesterday.
Okay. So yeah, they're gonna have their team at full strength and minus Patrick Williams. So very scary team. I watched them play against the Warriors, and for about 3 quarters, they hung with the Warriors, and then the Warriors blew them out. Like they're blowing everybody else out. Very talented team. I mean, the Knicks are gonna have to be on their best defense tonight. And like Josh said, just got to make some shots, man. I mean, if you're gonna take those 3-pointers, you sure as heck better make them. Because if not, we ain't gonna win.
Yeah, you got to make them. Definitely got to make them. Big shout out. Let me see. Make sure I get my man's name right. Roranoa the Knicks. Thank you for the super chat. I'm going to call you R. Thank you, R. Thank you for the super chat. He said, I think Buddy Hield would be a perfect fit if we don't start playing better. You know, maybe, you know, there's always been a lot of talk about, you know, from fans about Buddy Hield joining the New York Knicks. Would he play well under Tom Thibodeau? He might. You know, he might be the type of guy that really does, you know, is able to step his game up to another level under Tom Thibodeau. You never know. You never know. I don't know. What's he make? $20 million a year?
Something like that.
Yeah, $20 million a year, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't make a move if we have Evan on our team. I mean, because we've put in a lot of money into Evan. You can't keep both, right? Could you?
No, probably not. Probably not.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, probably not. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Please hit that like button. Smash that like button for me. You know, help the algorithm out. Hit the like button. You know, and that's all you got to do. Hit that like button. Algorithm goes up. Appreciate you guys for being here. Check back with me in about an hour. I'm going to let you go ahead and get into whatever game you're watching. The Giants don't play until Monday, till tomorrow. Tomorrow night, they play the Bucks. All right.
Maybe they'll cover.
You know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. The Giants 3-6 on the season. The Bucks are 6-3 on the season. Of course, they got, you know, Wonder Man over there.
Tom Brady.
The Jets are playing at 1 p.m. So for all you Jets fans, I'm gonna let you get up out of here so you can watch the 2-7 Jets take on the 3-7 Miami Dolphins.
Yeah,
that should be a good game.
They should win. They should win.
Should be a fun
Give them
one.
a chance.
Anyway, I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. We'll be back at 2:30 so we can do a game preview. All right, so make sure you join us. Now that we're gone, I just put it in the chat, tagged at the top of the YouTube chat. Go ahead and get over to NBK, to NBKFam.com and register, free entry, register for that live podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And be there. Join us. Anyway, we're out. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Nick.